All right. Hello, everyone. Good to have you here. Welcome from Twitter and everywhere else. I'm going to dive into creating some animation, some surrealistic animation using Photoshop and Illustrator is the plan. So let me know if you have questions. Want to give you a warm welcome. Also, let me know where you're from. We have Jake and Roberto here. What's up? Rafid, Tassif, good to have you here as well. Again, this is animation using Photoshop and Illustrator. So we're going to dive into this. I'm going to switch gears and kind of show you what I have been working on. Montreal in the house. Love Montreal. Montreal in the summertime. It's gorgeous. So here it is. Here's, again, one surrealistic image, as you can see, which is pretty cool. And you know what? It would be really fun to animate as well. So I kind of want to show you how to make these images and then how to animate them. And I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. This is all for people who know or are familiar with Photoshop, right? So that is the idea. Kansas City in the house. Bobby Hess, good to have you here. Hungary. I've been there. I've been to Budapest. Cool. Actually, you know, my brother is in Budapest right now. So if you see another guy roaming around, he went to the largest market, I guess, in Hungary there in Budapest. And yeah, so if there's somebody walking around that looks like me, then tell him hi. Say, hey, what's up, Randall? All right, so this is Louisville in the house. Roberto, good to have you here. This is the image, right? You can see how this started and then kind of where it ended up. We could do this kind of from scratch as well, by the way. Typically, if I know this is going to be an image for Twitter or Instagram, just be aware of the size. So I'm just going to make this a 1024 by 1024. Okay, this is a smart object, but I can go in here, and I was playing around with a couple other images too. I have this one. I was thinking about incorporating a city as well, but this snowy image is pretty cool too. I might actually go with it if you don't mind. Let me know if you have questions. All right. Yakima, Washington. Haven't been there. Dana. Oh, Dana, I didn't know you were in Washington. For some reason, I was thinking you didn't live there. How far away are you, I wonder, from Seattle, since that's most people's sort of reference point. Okay, so here's one image, and I want to take an image like this. I'm going to find something that has a sky, right? That has lots of kind of room up here to just kind of blend into the next image. And from there, I'm going to duplicate it. So Command J or drag that down to the new layer icon. Let's make a circle. There's a number of ways we can do this, but what I want to do is I'm going to show you how this is going to look also once we bring it into After Effects. So here's my circle. Let's zoom this out a little bit. Zoop, zoop. Let's make it happen. Let's make it fast. Like that. Let's move it over a little bit. And then let's move this up right here. Zoop. We want to turn this into a mask. Boom. Click right there. Boom. It is a mask, as we can see right here. So we can turn that off. Sure enough, it's like that. By the way, I think who made this popular is Witchoria on Instagram. So check her out. She's amazing. She's fantastic. If you do Command T, Anel, did you know this? 140 miles from Seattle. Interesting. That's where Yakima, Washington is. That's a little ways away. But Command T will allow you to transform it. Command T, and then if you right click, you can then flip it horizontally or vertically, in this case, or even rotate it. I want to rotate it actually 180 degrees, like that. That's actually what I want to do. So if I turn on that background, we can see what this looks like, kind of larger like that. Boom, there that is, and all is well. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible because when I bring this into After Effects, I want as little moving parts as possible. So what I want to do next is grab a brush, crank up this size, not the hardness though, just the size, and we're going to fade this out a little bit down here on this side, kind of like that. So that's what I'm doing like that. In fact, what would be really cool, work with me here. This is live designing. I figured why not? Let's do selection. Let's do quick selection tool. Oops, sorry, quick selection. Love the quick selection tool. In fact, let's try this. Let's see what happens if I do this. Let's see what happens if I do select subject. I bet you anything it gets this mountain right down here. Ooh, no, it doesn't. Look at what it does. It actually gets a lot of it if I just do select subject. It's under the select menu. Then I can, of course, add to it like I'm doing. And I want this to be in front of everything. Again, we're talking animation and everything, so I'm going to get into that in a second, but I want to kind of, you need to know how these images are set up. Just like that, let's go ahead and add a mask there. Duplicating this, we start to make some layer sandwiches, some fun stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. So we'll call this mountains. And this is large circle. And then this is the background. And then we can get rid of that background like that. Look at it, we're cleaning it up. And again, that's behind it. Let's do this one more time. Taking this image. Let's take this one here. Delete layer mask. Let me know if you have questions. Oh, is this Adobe stock or one of my picks? It is actually Adobe stock. Yes, sirree. It is Adobe stock. I wish I would have. I actually do have photos. I don't know. Not this cool. I do have some living in Colorado, just so you know. So from here, Command T. Let's go ahead and flip this vertically. Something like that. You know, and again, I'm just playing with this so far. I just have this kind of surreal image. I think it's kind of cool, but it's going to be really cool when this is animated. Because guess what? I can move these images inside. It's begging for it, right? So this one is the small circle, like that. With that done, I'll just go ahead and save this. It's called Snowy. And then we'll dive into After Effects. And by the way, here we are in After Effects. You might have seen maybe this image earlier. I can kind of pick this one apart just to get you a little excited. Check this out. And this is where we're going. Something like this. Look at that. This was mostly created in After Effects, but I'm showing you how you can start in Photoshop as well. Zoop, like that. Hello, Jasmine Christine. Good to have you here as well. Fantastic. Look at you. All right. I'm actually going to move myself over because you're probably not going to be able to see the timeline too well. Put myself over here. That might be a little better because we're going to largely focus on these layers. But where we're going to start out is by doing a file, import rpsd. And it's just a matter of finding this snowy PSD with all the fancy layers. Clicking open, and these are the settings that I get. Guess what? We can import everything as a composition, or you can just bring in everything as footage, but really I want to put everything in a composition. So put everything in its own file. Okay, editable layer styles, all that stuff. Click OK, boom, it brings it in. Here it is, snowy and the snowy layers. So think of this as my PSD, if you will, and then here's my individual layers beneath it. Okay, double clicking on that, we can see it right here, and all my content. All right, Yakub, one-time graphic designer here. Fantastic. Ivan asked if this is like a parallax effect. Yeah, I think I actually think the parallax effect could be pretty cool, which means the background's moving slow, foreground's moving fast. So that's what I'm going to do, Mo, just so you know. Something like that. When you bring things in, check this out. Everything's just one frame, right? Or just one frame. So the biggest issue you might import or have something or create a new layer and you're like, where is it? Well, just make sure that its timeline hasn't ended. So I'm going to extend this out. This is going to be 12 seconds long, so I'm going to make this for like Instagram and Twitter. And then I need to just stretch out all these layers, right? These layers are exactly like they are in Photoshop, right? There they are, right? I have the small circle, the mountains, and then the large circle right in there as well. Okay. And from here, if I want to manipulate any of the settings, if I want this to rotate, I'll just twirl this down. Here are all the properties that I could play with for this top small circle. Just twirl this down. Transform. You want to transform something? Well, hey, maybe you want to rotate it. Let's go ahead and click right there. And then it adds that rotation point, because this is my starting point. Typically, you click once right there on that stopwatch. It says, hey, I'm ready to be animated now. Right? And it gives me that keyframe depending on where this marker is in your timeline. So I can scrub this down a little further just so you know, and then I can add a second one, or I can change this property in some way. So I want it to rotate, we'll add one right in there. So it's going to do a full rotation, and it's a little wonky, so I need to actually change the anchor point. So let's do that. Zoom control keys work just as well. Let's move. Let's just. I should have lined this up perfectly in Photoshop. Kind of went through it a little fast, but basically that's. Let's just go with that for the center if that works for you. Now we can see we take this one. We can take this keyframe, scrub it clear to the end like that, and now we have that. Again, just kind of rotating somewhat slowly, as we can see. We'll do the same thing with the one below it, the large circle. A shortcut here. Again, I'm working on this one. Twirl this down. Do you guys know After Effects, by the way? Just kind of curious. You can do a similar animation using an Illustrator file. Yes, you can. So great call. Definitely make sure you name your layers, because that's going to be like hugely important. So thank you. Good call. Let me make sure they're fantastic. Yeah, Dana, I use Illustrator all the time, and this kind of depends on what you're going to do. So large circle, twirl that down, rotation. I can change that rotation. I can make it rotate a different direction, being mindful of where my marker is. Wait for it. My computer's thinking. It's like, well, I don't know. The fun thing about this, Leo and Angie and everyone, is I could replace this with real footage, like really easily. So Yuhin, if you've never used After Effects, this is for you. Exactly. All right. Again, just waiting for this to do its thing, because it will allow me to bring any Photoshop file to life. Okay. Kind of like what I'm doing over here with this one. I can bring in all this stuff and rotate it and move it and all that good stuff, okay? I'll show you some of that in a second. It's like, whoa, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff here, Paul. And that's what it's saying. So I'm going to close out some of these other things. And that's about it. It's still thinking. It's still thinking. I might restart it and jump into, oh, there we go. Whew, that was a close one. All right, so it took a little while to think, I think. Let's just save it. And from here, I could show you how to actually jump out and get real footage, because that's maybe what I want to do. I can go to stock.adobe.com. So that's what I've done. Signed in, done all that stuff. Searched on videos, by the way. And in fact, we can see right in here, kind of my license history. I found this nice HD video that I could download. So I've used Adobe Stock, downloaded a file that looks just like the still image that I'm using, right? Look at that. Look at how gorgeous that is. So could we replace some of those assets with this video footage? And the answer is basically yes, okay? Yeah, Roberto Felix, yes, like AE with in the fourth dimension. And I don't know, I've been stuffed up. I apologize. All right, so let's dive into there. We've grabbed our footage, by the way. Those can just be simple files right in here. It's done something very weird here. There we go. Extending that back out. There we go. Oh, by the way, I accidentally did that, but I'm glad it came up, because I typically twirl this down to access the different properties. You'll sometimes get quick at hitting R for rotation. Boom. T for opacity. What is O? I actually was hoping O would be something. But S for scale, P for position, you get it. R for rotation. Rotation is what I want to change. Click. What does it do? Adds that keyframe. Ooh, I bet you O brings it clear down to the end of my timeline maybe. But let's bring this back. Clicking right here. Boom. 0. In fact, let's go scrub down. For this one, we will make this, make it be -1, and it will rotate the other direction. So we kind of see them rotating around just different directions, essentially, right? So that's what's happening with that one. That's the fundamentals. I want to go beyond this because I actually want to use actual footage. So I've gotten you kind of hooked, hopefully, on taking a PSD and bringing it in and animating some simple properties, right? This is super fun, super easy. Let's take it to the next level. File, new. Let's make a new project. Wait, cancel. Let's actually make a new composition right over here. It's like making a new file. Okay, within this project, it's like making a new PSD. This is going to be my high mountains or white mountains. White mountains, 1024 by 1024. Click OK. Boom. Grabbing that footage that I want, right? Sure, I can grab any one of these, whether it's a PSD or whatever else, bringing it in. Sure enough, here it is in here, right here. And let's drop it in to this file. Boop, there it is, right? Just like that. Let's do some cool things. You ready for this? Command D to duplicate, right? Now I have 2 instances of it, right? For this second instance, guess what? I want to mask it just like we do in Photoshop. Check this out. Boop. Right up here, we're going to select the ellipse tool because I'm going to mask out a circle. So ellipse tool, coming over here. And let's just turn off that background. By the way, sorry I didn't mention this earlier, just like in Photoshop, turning on and off layers, right? So I could turn off that background layer, right? Just so we could see what's happening. And then as I sort of draw out from the center, we could see it's added that mask. So use these tools right up here. The pen, it's the equivalent of, I guess, a layer mask, right? Pen tool. And then these primitive shapes. And there we have that like so. Okay. Then I can take this, flip it, hit R for rotation. 90 degrees, 180. Let's do 180. Like that. Turning on that background. Boom. There we have that. And now we can watch this play. You get the idea. Okay, check this out. Another exciting thing for you Photoshop users. I'm going to right click right here. It's sometimes hidden, but I can show columns. You ready for this? I'm going to show, modes. Modes already showing. So make sure modes are showing. It's right here. Sometimes I turn that on or off, just kind of depending on the space I need. And as I expand or show that drop down, you can notice I can access these individual layer blend modes just like in Photoshop. So selecting that to overlay, and that's what I get, that overlay mode for this particular design. Okay, we'll do some other things. I'm going to go 0 here. There it is. See that? It's adding that cool overlay. Maybe changing the rotation like I was doing a second ago with real footage this time. It's going to rotate all the way around just like that. I'm not sure if it's in the center. I should really center things. But now we can see it do its thing kind of like that. Okay. Not crazy about the overlay. Hey, we can change it back to normal. We could fade out certain parts of this as well, but now we have this nice thing going on right here. Okay, pretty sweet. And by the way, we can change that mask size at any time if we want to as well. Okay, let's do one more thing because I think it actually might need to be a little larger. Command T. scaling it up just a little like that. Boom. All right, let's do this. Ready for this? I'm going to duplicate this as I rush ahead a little bit. Sorry if I'm my Angel, just so you know, this is a late 2016 MacBook Pro is what it is. So these are my specs that I'm running basically. So 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah. Intel graphics card that's pretty decent, and as you can see, processor 2.7. So just running off a laptop. Again, I've duplicated that. I have this new circle. And let me try to wait for it. Size this down as well. There we are. So I have the smaller one, I have the larger one, and then I have the background. For this smaller one, I hit R. Guess what? It's doing that rotation. Right over there, just like that. Right over here. But for this one, instead of this one rotating one direction, I'm going to go -1. So it's actually going to rotate the other direction like that. Okay. Hopefully that did the trick. Let's turn on this layer and hit play. And now we can see it just doing this cool surreal effect, which is super fun. So hopefully, was that easy? I pray it was, it sounded easy and everything. Because again, this is really powerful. All I did is I substituted an image for actual video footage from Adobe stock, and then for that video footage, aka just any normal layer, I just masked it out with using the ellipse tool. I can add a couple of those if I want to, and then I just animated the rotation for something kind of neat, right? Oh, Dana thinks it's cool. How are you doing, Dana? It's always good to see you. Roberto, I hopefully will be at Max this year. As an employee, you hope you get invited. you hope you can add some value, but chances are, yeah, I will be there. So, are you going to be there? Who's going to be at Adobe Max this year? Yeah, Jacob gave up on After Effects because he's using about 8 gigs of RAM on his i5. So, I mean, you could still use it. If you're throwing a ton of video footage and stuff at it, it's going to be kind of complex and kind of hard. But just like I did for this earlier version, you could also just use images and it would be just fine. Okay, so it just depends on how complex your project is, just so you know. Common mistake. This is a common mistake people make. Just what I actually will do is I'll go in here, I'll go to layer. You can make new layers, okay, that are solids, even shape layers. I'll do this. I'll say, hey, I'm going to add a shape layer. Boop. Hey, where's my shape layer? I thought I added a shape layer. And I'll do that again. New shape layer. And I'll do that like 5 times. Just be mindful right down here. Oh, yeah, it's showing up. You're like, why can't I see it? I see it down here, right? We'll just be mindful right over here. It's actually in the very first frame. And since I've scrubbed down looking at my beautiful animation, I realized, oh, you know what? I should step back and then see, you know, have those shape layers to add, say, for instance, a star in this case or something. There we go. This is the last image that I used, by the way. So much fun. What can we do? We can do so many things, and I can go on and on, right? We can make this solid. I was giving it a gradient earlier. By the way, you can control all these properties, right? So Dana mentioned Illustrator. This is kind of like having a little bit of Illustrator in here because I made this ellipse that has a gradient fill and has a stroke. Guess what? As I twirl this down, all this content can be animated, which makes it really fun. In fact, let's edit this gradient. I say it looks okay, but what I'm going to do for this whole layer is I'm going to go ahead and change it to like overlay, for instance. Wait. Mode. Let's change this back to normal. I'm going to change this to overlay like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and play with this. Start and end point for my gradient. Rotation things like that. So again, I'm just having some fun here, showing you some cool things, I think, you know, when it comes to After Effects. I don't like the stroke. Hey, not a problem. Selecting that ellipse, going right up here for the stroke. Let's get rid of it right like that. Boom, done, right? We want to animate it. We can animate it the same way as well. Let me know if you have questions. Windows versus Mac, which is better for After Effects? Either one, you know, it's really about the speed of either one that's important. I will say I think Windows you can output an animated GIF, and you can't do that on the Mac version. So I think that's about the only difference. Okay. Adding effects. We can add a lens flare, because I got a question from Ivy. Ivan? Yeah. Ivan, adding a lens flare in the middle. So this is what I would do. I'd go layer, new solid. I'm going to try this. New solid. Effects and presets. These are all the exciting things. All those effects that you have in Photoshop. Guess what? Generate a lens flare right there. That's what we want. Drop that on, and there's my lens flare. This is what I would typically do, because I want it on top of everything else, and I would change this to, what does it need to be? Soft light? But there's your lens flare for you, just so you know. And again, I can adjust the flare center. There it is. Let's adjust the brightness. And let's just kind of play with each one of these. But basically, the lens flare is in there. I don't know why it's so dark. I think it's my blend mode, and I'm sure there's something that I could do to just show up. This is what I would, add. Maybe it's add. Yeah, add just adds there we go, lens flare. So there's your fancy lens flare. If I wanted to add that, by the way, do I want to animate it? Sure, flare center, click right there, add that keyframe, scrub down further, change the lens flare center, and make sure this is extended all the way out, of course, but I've animated it right there as well. So now you have that animated lens flare. But thank you so much for that, because I think that's why I do this, you know, is to help people is what it comes down to. So not crazy about that lens flare, but now you know how to add it. I can always turn that off, and might not sweat it for later. But there's what I have. I'm going to go with this original one with this set file export. I usually use Adobe Media Encoder. Export this out to my desktop like that. Clicking play. How's Saeed doing? Do you have some free Creative Cloud plans for US? Sasha, I admire your attempt, but we don't. So I will say that you always have a chance to win one. You can go to BehandsOnNet/live and participate in their contests, and the winner usually wins 1 year of Creative Cloud. So that's the best I got. Tomek from Poland. Love Poland. People say I look Polish. I am on my mom's side, just so you know. And that's awesome. So here's my render. Boom. Done. White Mountain. Play. There it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this to Instagram and Twitter. You might need a GIF converter if you want to post it to Twitter. That's why I use this thing called GIF Brewery. I might crop it, or not crop it down, but go ahead and resize it, because you can only have files that are 5 megs. And let's just go ahead and create this one, GIF Brewery, make it happen. It's not an Adobe product, but you get the idea. Scrolling down, sorry I missed, yes, I know, Dana. No, it does not. So look at how fast it goes. I'm still dealing with this right now. I can't figure out why it's going so fast. And everything. Ooh, PS has a GIF output. Yeah, good call. I could also use Photoshop. So that's might be what I end up doing, is trying Photoshop for this one. But here's the different versions I've made as I leave you. There's this one. There's winter 1, there's winter 2. Here's winter 2 with some lines. I think this is the one with lines. Yeah, just adding some fun lines in there. And then we have an SF version that I was working on with real footage. As you can see that play. So I have both these loop. You get the idea. Cool, just some different options. Oh, you do? Saeed likes winter 2. All right, we kind of went with winter 1. But if you like winter 2, maybe I'll post that just for variety's sake. So thank you so much. Hello from Colombia, Brahim on Facebook. I want to thank you for hanging out. And everything. I'm going to post this to Instagram, which happens to be right here, just so you know, as videos. So that's what's happening. All right. Your name means happy. You can call me Odd, and my name means happy. All right. Edalberto. Thank you so much, Edalberto. Since I'm signing off right now and you just joined us, know that you could rewind this and watch anytime. Thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and post these to Instagram. And everybody have a beautiful day. And yeah, I will talk to y'all soon. Next up, I think tomorrow I'm going to be making a CD cover for a musician. So that's the plan tomorrow. Back in Photoshop and working with Illustrator as well. So again, thanks so much for watching, Dana and Regina and Anel and Saeed and Brahim and Ivan and Maine and everyone. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. And follow me on Instagram and